it's me, someone I know, Paul Friends, welcoming you, Star for the Universe on call. And tonight, it's just me, and I'm hoping I can hear it. I'm pretty sure Dave can hear it, and I'm pretty sure the people on the stream can hear it. If they can't hear me, then this is going to be a very boring session, very boring podcast with you just watching me. So, important thing that you guys on the podcast can actually hear me because I'm recording it. This might be an extremely short podcast, or I don't know. But hang in there. Low volume. Let me just do one quick check on this. Okay, no, I'm fine for OBS. Okay, OBS is perfectly happy with me, and I'll just do a double check on my hijack. Hijack, it seems to be fine on the levels there too. So no sound. Okay, Dave, I give up on TalkShoe for tonight. It's just not happening on TalkShoe tonight. Okay, that's fine. I'm gonna ignore TalkShoe then for this evening. I'm gonna focus on here, and this is for those of you on. Oh man, and it screwed me up. Oh, it doesn't. I'm boxed in. I'm looking at the Twitch video, and okay. I apologize to those podcasters who are listening to me complain about Twitch at the moment, because of you're listening to me going, okay, so who cares? I'm listening to you. Okay, I'll move on then. So tonight, actually, I was hoping to get Barry on, and unfortunately, TalkShoe was not cooperating earlier, where Dave actually could hear me. He could hear Dave, but Barry couldn't hear Dave. Oh, no. Barry couldn't hear me. That was it. So instead of having a me and Barry session, it's going to be a me session, and one I'm not prepared for, because I figured that, we have a nice little chat with Barry, and Lord knows we probably talk about his exit rules a little bit, probably talk about possibly tournaments, possibly multiple other things. Iggy, nice fellow Pennsylvanian. Iggy's over in Gettysburg, and I'm over here in Reading. So, anyhow, moving back to actually talking about Starfleet Universe stuff. The quick update. For those on the podcast, I apologize because you already heard this, which is the FedCom library is going quite well. Steve Cole is being very helpful in moving that forward. I actually got so far we found at least one bug in the Federation Commander ship cards. North of Philly. Okay, let me see. North of Philly, towards Allentown. I forget if you're towards Allentown, or because I'm northwest in Reading, so I know where Allentown is, and north also would be considered Pottstown, Swinksville. Oh, okay. I had a friend who lived in Swinksville, and my son lives in Collegeville, so he's right near you. So, by the way, Dave, if you like sushi, go to Viku in Royersford. You will not regret it. I think they have some of the best sushi around here. So much so that I'll drive the hour drive to go down to Viku just to get their sushi. So, anyhow, moving onward. I'm doing my best to improve the client. Actually, one thing I was doing this week, it was I was looking at the Unity engine. I finally that thing's I had a difficult time downloading the updated version of the Unity engine. You know, the whole Unity thing. Oh, Chris, it's not a bug in the bug in the FedCom ship cards is that they've got two ship cards with the same number. And they're both of them were supposed to be in the one of the communiques, and it ended up being that Steve Cole never figured out what it was. Basically, the Federation destroyer escort, that was supposed to be, and I forget which communique it is off the top of my head. I'd have to look it up. But that was supposed to be in one of the communiques, and it would end up actually in the communique was a Klingon ship. Yep, Chris, now you remember that. Yeah, that was a bug. That was a bug in the FedCom ship cards. You know, that is. I got another one, which just happened this week with Sebastian, Chris, which was there's a ship card that I've currently got, and I sent an email to Steve Cole, and he said, oh, you know, according to not the fighters, it is the Federation NAC, and which is would be an Aegis cruiser. Now, the issue with that Aegis cruiser, it's very simple. It says that it's according to the bottom. That's weird. It said at the bottom of the card that it's from the Federation ship card pack number 5. There's no Federation ship card pack number 5. It's only 1 through 4. And I was concerned, oh, wait a minute, maybe I shouldn't be releasing this right now because it might be something that Steve Cole is working on to release later on. Then I looked at the copyright, and the copyright for it is 2019. So either he's got an old ship where he's going to be part of a ship card pack, which is possible in the future, and we're not supposed to release it, in which case, if that's the case, I'll hold off. And just there, in that case, that's a spoiler alert on if you're anticipating the ship card pack number 5 for Federation Commander for the Federation. So that's another one that we found that's like, okay, where's ship card pack number 5? So I'll find out. I'm hoping in the next couple of days, because I know sometimes it takes Steve Cole a little bit of time to respond. But overall, it's going well. With it comes to, Sebastian's been helping out a lot. Chris actually in the Twitch chat room has been helping out a lot. I've been doing my best to push that forward. The big issues, as I've talked about this in the past, which is Chris can do a wonderful job, can get the ship card completed with all the information about all the properties, what's the BPV, what's the movement cost, what's the turn mode, all of this stuff he could put it in. But if I don't have a counter, I have to create a counter. Because I don't have all the counters for all of the ships. And in some cases, what I have to do is actually I have to create counters myself for that ship, because I feel pretty confident in saying that ADB has not actually produced a counter for each and every ship that they have created. Just say basically reuse the counters for same kind of ship, but not the exact same kind of ship. Like, for example, the Tholian police destroyer, which I got. I just posted up earlier this week, and there's multiple variants. There's the photon variant. There's the escort variant. There's the carrier variant, and I don't have a lot of those variants. I've got two of the variants. I just can't tell you off the top of my head what those are. but I know those are variants, and I've got counters for those, but I don't have counters for the escort variant or the photon variant, which is, for those of you who know computers, the photon variant of the police destroyer is a PDP. And for computer people, that, oh, Chris, that'd be great. That actually is an old computer. The PDP-11 was one of the first computers I was going to say it was the first computer I ever done assembly language programming in, and that's completely incorrect, because my first one was, I think, an Apple II with a 6502. The second one, which I did I think right after that, was I did a 6510, which was from the Commodore 64. And then the third one was the PDP-11. And that because the PDP-11 actually was in college, and that was one of those things that I love the PDP-11 instruction set just because it was almost complete when it comes to all the operations, all the modes and all that kind of thing, which in my mind was really quite cool. Yep, Chris. Yep, Chris was just mentioning how the Unix was actually written on a PDP-7, and it's like, actually, you're right. It was. Was it? Huh. I asked because, if I recall correctly, the PDP series was from DEC, and the Unix operating system was created by AT&T. I'd have to look that up, to be honest. But that's one. I'm gonna go down this rabbit hole just a little bit, and then I'll pull back. Which is the one thing that I think was just unique, and actually, if you think about it, even today, it's well, that's kind of today too. Most people think of programs are programs. You do everything in it. You might get a plug-in to plug into it to add some additional functionality. The idea of Unix is you take these small little pieces, these little code, these little utilities, and then you add them together to create something larger. And the one thing, the biggest thing in Unix, in my mind, which was revolutionary and still is today, because of, to this day, when it comes to easily doing an additive of functions together, the easiest way is, one, the command line. Two, they have what's called the pipe command. The idea is that the standard out, what you printed out to the screen, what could be piped as a standard in the input to the next program down the line. And to me, that's revolutionary, because it allowed some just awesome functionality. Because the common language when it comes to the data was text. And that's why that works. Compared to JSON has a really good utility called JQ, which you can query JSON, but I don't think there's any set of utilities that you can kind of pipe together to manipulate JSON or manipulate a binary file. I mean, I'm talking about little utilities. I'm not talking about, in the case, I'm thinking about like a photo. A photo, you have utilities that actually can do, like I think Image Magic can do that, but it's one program which does everything, not a program that does one thing well. So if you could say manipulates photos, that does that one thing well. So anyhow, moving back to the start of the universe and out of the tech and the history of computers, because that's another one of my favorite subjects. I'm not sure. Oh, whatever. But okay, so I'm one thing we're actually going to be working on for Federation Commander for that portion of the client is definitely fighters, as Chris pointed out. Actually, I have to find out. Chris, remind me, has Fighters Attack been released yet? I forget. I'm pretty sure not. Because I definitely need some ship cards with the fighters on them so we can actually create fighters for the client. In which case, then we have to figure out. Oh, okay. Okay, so I'll have to look at some of the communiques. Okay, thanks. I'll be doing that this weekend. I got a few things to do this weekend, and multiple things. But anyway, but again, sorry, I apologize. I'm jumping all over the place. Going back to Unity, the big issue with Unity, I had problems with installing it. Because one thing I was hoping and praying. Right. Okay. Yeah, Chris. Again, I've got the email. I've got lots of your emails. I have not read them all, but I've got your emails. Don't mind me. Right now, I've got 90 unread emails, and that's from somewhere around 15 different accounts. And they're unread because there's something to me that's like a to-do list. In other words, I want to sit, read it, process it. So that's what I gotta do. But anyway, the reason why I was actually looking into downloading Unity and playing with it, because I did a quick search and they went, oh yeah, we got hexagonal on tile maps. I went, ooh, maybe they can make things a lot easier on me when it comes to the tile maps. What I'm looking for is a game engine, one that I can program to basically quickly do SFB Designer's Edition. That's what I really would like to do. Obviously, what I can do now is I can easily add that into the SFU Online client. I can do that. It would be interesting to do it because the reason why the way I want to do it from scratch is I want a whole different client, a whole different system. What I might actually have to, okay, let me stick on the Unity thing first and not go too far off. And that is okay, but it wasn't nearly as easy. I have to do what I want to do because it gives you a tile map. A tile map basically is a layout that you can lay your different tiles on top of, and you can kind of draw your map using these different tiles that you have, which is great. If you're trying to create a game which is hex based, but not hex based, meaning, actually, that's one thing that would be. I'm not sure you could do it in Unity, which is you can definitely do SFB in Unity. I think you could definitely have to move around. The tough part at the moment is that I have to I'd have to create a hex. I might be able to look it up. Hexagon with borders, because currently the ones that are built into Unity don't have borders, which means that the whole idea is that you have a hex, you can color it to be whatever color you want, and then you can then kind of draw it on the tile map, and then it will save that all up, and that's part of your scene. So you can actually draw the scene for your game, and that's cool, and that's great. It helps people that are doing that, hex-based games like Civilization, things like games like that they're hex-based, but they're not hex-based like SFB is hex-based, where you actually have numbers of the hexes, and those numbers actually mean something. So that's why I said you could possibly do SFB as part of the, there's a couple of things that I'm not sure. Actually, using the designer's edition, I think it might be possible because you could definitely hard code the different SSDs versus the way the client currently works, which the client actually downloads the actual library is kept on the server, and then as you add ships, you can actually it comes up on a list, and then you can download the ships from that list. It's possible there might be a way to do the component as a part of a Unity game. Don't know, because Unity is such a different way of thinking. I'm a classically trained software engineer. I'm not used to dealing with frameworks where this is the way it works, and you have to hook your things into. Well, I deal with frameworks to a certain degree when it comes to that, yeah. But I have a certain amount of control of the flow of how it works. For example, standard web server. You get a request. The request calls a certain piece of code. And then there's different things you can do routing and so forth like that. But there's a direct association from this action to the code that's going to be called. In the Unity engine, each object has an update method, which things happen in it. The thing is, I don't know when the update gets called, how often that update gets called. Does it get called like once a second? Does it get called when you click on it? What action makes that method called? I know like there's another method within a game object is called start. And the start method, my understanding, is when you first start the game, when you first instantiate the game object. I'm not sure if it's instantiate the game object class or the game object itself. I'm not sure which. So, this is the kind of stuff that's part of Unity that I don't quite understand. And Lord knows I probably would take me a good month or so. Obviously you can do a lot with it. The question is, I'm limited on the amount of time that I have. And the question has to be is, what do I spend my time on? If I spent it on learning Unity, I can't do things for SFU Online. Because there's certain things I cannot drop, and I can't drop like Starfleet Warlord, which I now currently support on a weekly basis. Now, that's one thing I was actually thinking about doing last weekend, last weekend, the weekend before last. And that is making sure I have all the pieces that I need to automate the running of turns. And I'm pretty sure I have all the pieces to run turns in an automated fashion. The only thing with that is that I think I realized this. I came back to it. I started looking at this again, which is creation of the games can't be automated. But at the same time, creation of the games are a very manual process to begin with. Yes, there are certain things that can be automated. Certain things that can be automated, like the inputting of the builds. That could be automated. But certain things like, okay, where are those players going to be located on the galactic map? What sector will they be assigned to? That's a very human decision making that takes place. Obviously it can be completely random, and it comes to making sure people are spaced out as much as possible. That's easy enough to do in a programmatic fashion. But when you have to decide, okay, this guy's been running between this, next to this guy, and or this guy said, oh, I really don't want to be next to this guy, and I try my best to accommodate that. Now, but there is a point where you have the whole traveling salesman issue with those kind of things, where there is no solution that a program can complete in a decent amount of time. So, but that's I guess that's one of those questions I have to ask. I have to answer myself, which is where do I want to put time? Because I know one thing I have to do this weekend. This weekend I have to move some of my servers, actually one server, multiple websites, from one server to another because of the current operating system instance is no longer it's been de-supported for multiple years. My current I'm not sure what you call them. I guess virtual service provider, best way to call it. That's where I have all my VMs running. My computer, in the case of, I'm not sure if they're called that, called compute instances in AWS. I know in Oracle Cloud they are. That's because I work for Oracle as my day job. That's what pays me the money so I can do everything else that I want to do. So, anyhow, so that's one thing I have to figure out. Now, one thing actually I was thinking about talking about this evening, and actually I'm going to do this, and I'm just going to do this because
Your line.
Don't mind me. And I'm just going to kill that. Actually, I shouldn't have killed it. I should have just logged out. Stopping TalkShoe because I got a couple of idiots in the TalkShoe that are talking about things. I'm not sure. I'm just shutting down the whole meeting and just because I'm not currently broadcasting that. It's like, oh, well, if you're just there to say stupid things, well, go someplace else. This is weird because I normally don't get that kind of stuff. Every once in a while, yeah. But tonight, it's just, I don't know. But anyway, moving onward. The one thing I was actually going to think about, talk about tonight, when Barry couldn't hear me and then we have issues with TalkShoe, is that I was going to talk about that training manual, because the reason why I was starting to think about that at all was that actually we have, I was going to say new players, but I don't think they're really new. I think they are, if I recall correctly, they said they were not new players, but they were players that haven't played Starfleet battles for years, and they're just going through the cadet training manual again, I think. I might be confusing people because, Lord knows, they've been quite a few conversations have been going on the Discord server. So I've been getting a lot of pings, a lot of notifications. Oh, he said this. This person said this. Because I keep my notifications on for Discord because Discord usually is very quiet. And today it wasn't that quiet. So, actually right now it's really quiet because I quit out of the Discord server because I'm doing this, And Lord knows, there was that time many years ago when I was thinking about going from TalkShoe and doing something different. The big thing was the call-in portion was the difficult part about it. The only way I can think of doing it at the moment, it would be to actually have people dial in and have basically get web conferencing or something along those lines. Not web conferencing, but conferencing software or conferencing, this website. I know it's obvious to me that TalkShoe uses freeconference.com, and so since it uses that, that's one way I could go. If I really get sick and tired of TalkShoe, though. Usually the reason I have problems with TalkShoe is not because of TalkShoe itself, though I've had some issues with that too. But usually it's the conferencing software, actually the call-in stuff, which is, of course, if that's the case, I shouldn't be using freeconference.com if that's what they're using, because that's probably just dragging along the issue with me. So, but I was going to talk about the cadet training manual and I brought it up on my computer and going, I really don't like this. I'm gonna go check to see if there's a better one out, because this one looks like it's like pure text, and there's no layout, no nothing like that. If I it's just one thing that I would not want to show you guys. It's good reading, for teaching. Yeah, it has all the necessary graphics and so forth. But compare that to, okay, give me a sec. Yeah, there it is. This one, which is, you've got your SSDs, got a nice, the text is basically, this is ADB quality stuff. This is what you see when you get a rule book from ADB. But the PDF, no, it did not. So I was like, I just, it doesn't have what I want it to have. So because I was going to go through I wasn't going to show you the training, but I was going to go through some of the lessons. Though I understand that most of you guys that are listening to this, well, I'm assuming that somewhere in the neighborhood of like 95% have played SFB or played FedCom. And if you're playing Federation Commander, you would recognize a lot of what's in the cadet training manual. And so, it would be more of an overview of the cadet training manual, just because of, I know I've mentioned it. I'm not sure if I've actually gone through it with you guys. I might have, because I know I have mentioned it before. And just because I know I talked about it before about how I think the cadet training manual still has a purpose, and that's one of those things that I did many moons ago, which is like I tried to improve the client. There's still bugs with that, and I still don't know why in the cadet training room that it is what it is, how it is. And obviously the one thing that I really would like to do with the cadet training room, that's part of the SFB online client or SFU online client, is that what I'd like to do is I would like to have it so that the seeking weapons, your opponent, all that could be completely automated, and tie that in. And I've got all the fixes that I need for there wasn't much to do when it comes to the engine that would move. It calculates what movement needs to be done to move things. It has ways of calculating what arc things are in and so forth. all that, which is great. And I know I discussed about it before, which was the whole idea of do I keep the engine separate, so that it's completely, that engine's completely separate. So I plug in the values and it comes out, or do I actually integrate the engine into the client itself on a more deeper level? And I don't know, as I pointed out, but that's one of those things. That's as a feature I really want to add, which is have a robot opponent. Because at the worst case scenario, if I can get at least a robot opponent for like Confederation Commander, which I should be able to do, or possibly SFB. Heck, what I really would like to do, and I have to wait and see, because I know one thing about the SFB Designers Edition, which is what I'd like to do. I'd like to basically create an SFB Designers Edition, which is basically a standalone app. The idea being that one, it's separate. Two, it has an automated player that could play because it's simpler. And also, give it, because I truly think that one good thing is to go completely retro. And obviously, if I do that, I'm gonna have to make sure that Steve Cole would not get upset with me if I use the old SSDs, which are currently available for download as part of the Designer Edition ebook. And I would use the classical SSDs, not the third gen SSDs, not the current, updated SSDs that he did with the Crawford boxes and all that kind of thing. But the old ones, the ones that he would draw with the graphical tools, straight edge and things like that. I think that's the way he did it. That could be it. I have to double check with Steve Cole exactly how he used to do those SSDs. I'm willing to bet the first time go round he did by hand with graphical tools like that, like straight edge and drafting table, people who do those kind of things, and that's probably what the tools he kind of used. So, I'm hoping to get an idea of. I know one thing I still want to work on, which is the modernization of the client. The one thing I really would like to work on. I'm not sure how many people will be happy about it, and I want to see if I can do both, because Lord knows people are not thrilled with my changes, but at the same time, I asked for help. Many moons ago, I asked for help from the community on a discussion board where the veterans are. And it doesn't seem like they're interested. So it's like, okay. So I'll continue to work on that, because that was one of the reasons why I have the flat UI. I might actually change that box a little bit, because currently it's called look and feel, which is actually what it's called in Java. But I might change the name of that field, just call it theme, to be better way of describing it. Maybe look to see if the preferences / options window, to see if I can clean that up a little bit, because every little thing as it is. Les LeBlanc, who's actually been creating quite a few YouTube videos and playing online, and I had to thank him for what he's been doing lately. He's been creating quite a few videos, and one of the things actually I told him about, and it looks like he definitely took it to heart, which was one thing I gave as a recommendation to him, is not, instead of playing back the game in real time, to at least speed it up. Now, my daughter as great of a YouTuber she is, and that's what she wants to be. And it's like, okay, you want to try to be a YouTube. I'm a YouTube personality, maybe not a star, but basically she wants to be able to earn a living from YouTube. And like, that's a tough gig. And I do know that from what I've heard from other persons who've done YouTube, because you're always thinking about numbers and audience and all that kind of thing. You try and get your numbers up so that you get the revenue from the ads and all this kind of thing, which is not easy. And Lord knows, I'm not sure how well the ad business. Well, I'm sure that there's always going to be a way to show ads, because ads have been used for 1800s, possibly even back in in the 1700s. In newspapers I'm talking about, not online, because Lord knows it didn't exist. But one thing that she told me when it comes to videos was that what I should do is take my videos of my games, snip, basically cut it down to those important portions of the game, instead of having you go through the whole game, moving. This ship moves here, this ship moves here. It's like, no. Pick out the places which were exciting, like launching of the drones, like just approaching for the battle pass, that approach. Basically where all the action is, and possibly put commentary with that. It's like, okay. But I know one thing about that, and that's a 6-hour game will take somewhere around probably 8 hours to edit, down to an hour of highlights. So it's a lot of work, and I know people. People want to see more of it, and Lord knows the YouTube people that are listening to this YouTube video, and I know your names. Well, I know your YouTube call signs. And I know that you want more of that. You want that posted on this feed. And, I'm not sure if that'll happen, because as I've pointed out before, is that this was mainly meant for a feed for podcasts, not for, and as a way of showing the video for my podcast, not as purely a mechanism for encouraging people to, see how cool SFB is, how cool Federation Commander is, and join in and be a part of the community. I understand that. But, the original goal for this podcast, the time of day, the talk show, all of that, the original reason for that was to build a community that people have a place where they can come every Thursday night and talk about the Starfleet battles, talk about the thing that they love. And that was not too bad early on. But, it's gotten down to Barry shows up every once in a while. We got Dave, he's here, and now, with Twitch, I've got, Chris and Iggy, i.e. Jonathan, and it never became the community that I wanted it to be. Maybe it's because I don't know how to build a community, which is, if someone said that, I would have to agree with them, because I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do that. So, no matter what, I will continue doing this podcast going forward, because I enjoy doing this podcast. Dave, be careful about what you say. Dave's saying, "Oh, well, I'll meet in Harrisburg one day." He. Just to let you know, Dave, the Gamers of Summer should be when? It should be, I think it's Labor Day weekend is usually when it is. Go for it, Iggy. ASL. That's being ASL, the two classic tactical games in my mind. They're so close. They're so close when it comes to the number of rules and how detailed they get into, which is really awesome. But to let you know, Gamers of Summer, Gamers of Winter, which happens around Harrisburg, it's a small convention. It's the one room convention is what it is, and we usually get a bunch of Dungeons and Dragons people. They rent out. They come and they pay. They themselves almost pay for the room. You know, because I forget what they're playing these days, but they usually play in the back of the room, which is fine. You know, they're good people. You know, I've never had an issue with them, and they like playing games, which is what the whole convention is about. And then we have, it's almost like a game club per se that we join up. We meet up twice a year, once for summer, once for winter, and we'll play all kinds of games from Galactic. I was gonna say Galactic Conquest, but that's not right. I forget what it's called now. I don't know. But that Splendor, all kinds of board games. Lord knows, Barry and I will probably be playing brass at some point. Oh, Barry will be. Dave, when it comes to Gamers of Summer, he will most probably will be there. So if you guys want to meet and play Starfleet Battles at a kind of, I call it a mini convention because it's the one room convention is what it is. I'll make sure that I announce it here. I'll make sure that I give you guys the time, and I'll be happy to play SFB for the whole entire weekend, which is going to be Saturday and Sunday, because usually he does it like Labor Day weekend, and usually Monday I don't show up because I have it as kind of I consider it a family day, you know. But you know, because I'm gone for the other 2 days, so I want to spend some time with my family. Surprise, but. Yeah, if you guys are willing to meet up with me for Gamers of Summer, I know Doug Howard would love to have you guys there, and I would love to have you guys there. I bring all my stuff, all my FedCom stuff, all my SFB stuff, so we can chill out and play. That'd be fantastic. I know Barry, he should be there. If he is there, that'd be great to have him there too. So with that, I think I will wrap this up for this evening. I am Paul Franz, and I bid you a good night.